The first time I stepped onto the courts of the Volmont Tennis Academy, the air felt heavier than usual, charged with something I couldn't name. I had dreamed of this place for years since I was 12 and saw my first Grand Slam match on TV and realized I wanted this. All of it. The sweat, the glory, the silence before a serve, the applause. I wanted to belong here. And for the first few weeks, I did. My schedule was strict. My muscles ached in that addictive way that tells you you're doing something right. And my coach Victor was well intense, old school, dry, efficient. He never smiled, never softened, but he got results. And that was all I thought I needed until the morning. He didn't show up. The silence was different that day. Not tense, just hollow. We were told he was hospitalized. Something serious. No timeline for his return. I remember standing frozen on court 3, racket dangling from my hand, not knowing whether to be worried or relieved. Then someone said, "They're bringing an interim coach," and I bristled a substitute for Victor. That afternoon she walked in. Cassandra Reed, Cass. She introduced herself with a lopsided grin and a ponytail that somehow managed to be both effortless and flawless. A former top 10 national player, 28, forced into early retirement by an injury. She wasn't in a tracksuit like the other coaches. She wore black leggings and a deep blue sports bra under a loose tank that the wind molded to her in all the perfect places. Her skin was sun-kissed, her gaze was keen, and when she clapped her hands to call us over, her voice was rich and low, carrying a new kind of command. "Let's get one thing clear," she said, pacing before the lined-up students. "I'm not here to take Victor's place. I'm just here to keep you from backsliding while he's away. That means we work hard, we stay sharp, and if you can't stand me, that's fine. Just don't let it mess with your swing." Everyone laughed. I couldn't. My eyes were fixed on her. She held my stare for just a heartbeat and gave a slight nod, like she recognized something in me that even I hadn't discovered. That evening, I couldn't sleep. Hey, if you're enjoying this story, go ahead and drop a like to help us grow even more. And let me know in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, what score would you give this story so far? Your feedback makes all the difference. My roommate Maya snored softly across the room, and I lay in the dark, replaying her voice. The way she stood behind me, adjusting my grip, her fingers grazing against mine. "Relax," she'd whispered, her breath warm against my ear. "You're too tight. Let the racket feel like an extension of you." I hadn't even known I was tense until she moved away. Day by day, training under her became something different. She grinned when I aced a serve. She studied me intently when I failed. She'd tilt her head while breaking down a technique, circling me like she was charting more than just my foot placement. "You overthink your game," she said one morning after I double faulted 3 times straight. "Quit trying to win, everyone. Over. Just play for you." No one had ever said that to me. I didn't know how to play for myself. My entire existence had been about improving, demonstrating my worth, succeeding. But she made me feel like perhaps there was a greater purpose than trophies. Perhaps there was something about her that made me want to be recognized, not as an athlete, but as a person. And that scared me. The more time we shared, the more I observed the tiny details. The way she pushed her hair behind her ear while concentrating. The slight husk in her voice when she was weary. The way she chuckled, truly laughed, when I cracked some silly joke about tennis balls being hexed. I began to hunger for her validation, her notice, the way she watched me when I impressed her. I began choosing my clothes with more care, styling my hair another way, hanging back after sessions just to assist her with the equipment. And every time our hands touched, every time our eyes locked for a second too long, something awoke in my chest that I refused to identify. Not yet. I told myself it was respect, thankfulness, disorientation. But none of that accounted for the flutter in my stomach when she called me kiddo with that playful grin, or the warmth that spread up my neck when her palm rested on the small of my back during cool downs. This wasn't part of the plan. She was just a stand-in, a brief interruption in my meticulously mapped journey to pro. And yet I couldn't get her out of my head, fantasize about her, needing to comprehend what this sensation was because it was expanding, and I was beginning to lose my grip. There was something about late afternoons at Beaumont that made everything seem frozen in honey. Time, expectation, air. The courts were still, most players already left, and the setting sun stretched long. Shadows across the clay. That day, I'd lingered again, feigning the need to stretch, to tidy my gear, to drink water. Any pretext, really. She was on the bench by the fence, legs slightly apart, elbows on her knees, gazing into the distance like she was searching for something just beyond sight. I walked over, trying not to stare at the way the light glowed on the damp skin of her throat. "You always stick around after?" she asked without turning my way. I shrugged, playing it cool. "Only when it feels like I left something on the court." She looked at me then, her expression gentler than normal. "You left everything out there today." That one line loosened a knot in my heart. I sat down beside her, close enough to sense her warmth, but not so close that I couldn't pretend I didn't want to be closer. "You're not like Victor," I said after a pause. "He only ever focused on my mistakes, and that was effective for you?" she asked. I didn't reply. She nodded as if my silence was answer enough. Then she leaned back, hands pressed on the bench behind her, looking up at the twilight. I was like that once, consumed, merciless with myself. Never content. I turned to her, surprised by the rawness in her voice. When did that change? She paused, her jaw clenching briefly before she spoke. 2 years ago. I was 26, world number 6. One win away from cracking the top 5. I could taste it. Everything I'd sacrificed for, finally right there. Her voice grew distant, her stare fixed on nothing. My breath hitched. I'd read about her career, obviously. Knew she'd retired suddenly, but the reasons were always unclear. What happened? She smiled, a hollow smile. Quarterfinal, hard court. I stretched for a backhand and shredded the ligaments. In my ankle, I didn't make a sound. I just knew. Something essential had broken. I felt my own chest constrict. The picture was too clear. They told me I'd walk again, maybe even teach. But playing at that tier, impossible. Not after an injury like that. My body might have recovered, perhaps, but not enough to ever challenge the elite. I was lost for words. It was too personal, too exposed. She looked down at her hands, knuckles white. I trained every day since I was a child. Lived out of suitcases. Missed holidays, abandoned a normal life, gave it all up. And just like that, she snapped her fingers, the sound cutting through the air. Gone. A heavy silence settled between us. I stayed still, didn't breathe. Then, in a near whisper, she said, I had no idea who I was without it. For months, I despised tennis. Hated seeing it, listening to it, being around it. Coaching was the last job I imagined I'd ever take, but here I am. I turned to her slowly. Why did you agree? She met my gaze. Because Victor asked, and because when I saw your name on the roster, something told me I had to be here. My heart skipped. Why me? She looked at me then. Really looked. Her eyes traced my features like she was studying something precious. You remind me of who I was. Before the doubt, before the accident, you still think it's all achievable. The world shrank. The court disappeared. It was just her and me and the charged air between us that hummed with something I couldn't yet define. Cass, I began, but had no words. Her lips quirked. Don't look at me like that, kiddo. Like what? I murmured, though I knew exactly. Like I'm some project you can fix? I don't want to fix you, I said, the words escaping before I could catch them. I just want to know you. She blinked, thrown, then nodded once, slowly. Be careful with that, she said softly, getting to her feet. Knowing someone can be far more perilous than loving them. She walked away then, and I remained breathless, my chest aching with a feeling that was equal parts sorrow, desire, and fire, all twisted into one. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling dot, and for the first time, I wondered what it would feel like to touch her hand, not by accident, but on purpose. I wondered if she ever thought about me when I wasn't around, and I wondered what would happen if I stopped pretending this was all just admiration. The morning started to taste different. Coffee sharper, sky brighter, skin more aware of the wind brushing over it. I couldn't tell if the world had changed or if I had. All I knew was that ever since she told me about her injury, I couldn't stop thinking about her, not just in fragments now, but whole. I imagined her standing in the center of a stadium, thousands watching, alone and fearless. Then I imagined her in that hospital room, her ankle wrapped, her dream crumbling silently inside her chest. And yet she still walked into this place every day, whistling as if she wasn't haunted. That was strength. But it was also a kind of softness, and I felt it every time she looked at me. That weak practice intensified. She pushed me harder. More spin. Loosen your grip. Breathe, Alara. Her voice had carved its way into my body. I could feel her corrections even before she spoke. And then came Friday, conditioning day, which meant sprints, endurance drills, and strength circuits. Most of the others dreaded it. I didn't because she always stayed close during conditioning, and close meant proximity, and proximity meant danger. She had us doing ladder drills that day. High knees, quick feet, coordination under pressure. I was halfway through my fourth set when I tripped. Not badly, but enough to stumble sideways and land hard on one knee. I hissed, trying to stand up fast, embarrassed. Cass was already next to me, crouching low, one hand on my arm. Hey. Slow down, let me see. It's nothing, I said quickly. But her fingers were already grazing the skin just below my shorts, checking for swelling. Her touch was clinical, professional, except it didn't feel that way to me. My breath stilled. Her hand paused on my thigh, warm and steady. You're shaking, she murmured. It's just the adrenaline, I lied. She looked up then, and we were too close. Her face inches from mine, her eyes shadowed under the visor she wore, and I could smell her sweat, sunscreen, something citrusy and alive. You okay? She asked low and quiet. Yeah, I whispered. But I wasn't, because my heart was pounding in my ears, and the heat on my skin had nothing to do with the sun. Her fingers lingered half a second too long before she stood. Take 5, she said, her voice rougher than before. I watched her walk away, her shoulders tense, and wondered if she'd felt it too. That evening, I stayed behind again. She didn't stop me. In fact, she nodded toward the ball cart. Serve drills? Sure, I said, trying to sound normal. We worked in silence for a while, her feeding me balls, me sending them over with varying degrees of precision. When I double faulted for the 3rd time in a row, I groaned. I'm off today. No, she said, stepping closer. You're just in your head. Then, without asking, she came behind me, pressed her front lightly against my back, her hands reaching around to adjust my arms, the racket in my grip. Your stance is too stiff here. Her voice was low, her breath brushing my neck, and her body God. Her body was warm against mine, and I forgot every rule of physics. I stopped breathing like this, she whispered, guiding my arm through the motion. My skin burned where her hands touched me. Feel that? She asked. The power comes from your core, not your shoulder. Trusted, I barely heard the words. All I could feel was the pressure of her chest and my back, the slow exhale she released, the way my entire body trembled in response. She stepped back then, slowly, like she didn't want to startle me or herself. I turned around too quickly, almost bumping into her. And for a moment, we just stood there facing each other, breathing unevenly. You okay? She asked again. But this time her voice was softer, like she already knew I wasn't. I nodded, then shook my head. No, I don't know. She didn't move, didn't blink, just looked at me. What is this? I asked before I could stop myself. Between us, she hesitated. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Alara. My name sounded like something fragile on her lips. I'm your coach. Temporarily. You didn't answer the question. She looked away then, jaw tight. You're 19. You have a career ahead of you. You're focused. You need to stay focused. So, do you, I said. But you're here. That landed heavy in midair. Between us, her eyes flicked back to mine, sharp and glossy. Don't push this, she said, but it wasn't a warning. It was a plea, and I didn't know what terrified me more, that she felt something or that she was trying not to. That night, I lay in bed again, heart pounding, skin buzzing. I hadn't touched her. Not really, but it felt like I had, and I didn't know how many more almost I could take before I stopped caring about the rules. Her name was Sienna. She was new, transferred in from another academy down south, and she had that kind of effortless charm that made people turn when she walked by. Blonde, tall, lean. Every movement calculated, but casual, like she knew she was being watched and had made peace with it. The first time I saw her, I was mid-serve and I felt it hard. Cass raised an eyebrow. Eyes on the court, kiddo. But I wasn't the only one who noticed Sienna. Everyone did, especially the guys, and apparently me. Not in the way I noticed Cass. Nothing in the way my body reacted when Cass was near. But Sienna had this confidence that was hard to ignore, and it didn't take long before she found me. "You're Alara, right?" She asked that afternoon, walking up after practice while I towed off near the fence. "I watched you play last week. That inside-out forehand. Killer." I blinked. "Thanks. I'm still working on the footwork, though." Could have fooled me. She grinned, teeth sharp and white. "You free later?" I was going to hit a few balls. Could use someone who won't go easy on me. I hesitated. Sure, I guess. From the corner of my eye, I saw Cass watching us. She was talking to another coach, but her eyes flicked toward us more than once. I felt it like static in the air. That evening, Sienna and I trained together. She was good. Not polished like Cass, not intense like me, but agile and fast, and clearly used to winning. We played a few sets, traded banter, and at some point she said, "You've got the kind of fire that makes people fall in love with you." I laughed, caught off guard. "That's dramatic." "True, though," she said, tossing me a ball. "And I bet your coach knows it, too." My smile faltered. "What do you mean?" Sienna shrugged casual. "She watches you like she's trying not to, and failing miserably." I didn't respond. I couldn't because it felt like she'd said something out loud that I wasn't ready to admit, even to myself. The next day, things shifted subtly. Cass didn't say anything about Sienna. Didn't mention her name. Didn't even look at her during group drills. But with me, she was colder. Not mean, not distant, just professional. Overly professional. No teasing, no smirks, no lingering glances. She corrected me like she was reading from a textbook. Foot, back, arm higher, wrist firm. And I hated it. I hated how much I missed her voice when it softened. How much I wanted her to look at me the way she used to. After practice, I walked up to her. Did I do something wrong? She didn't meet my eyes. No, why? "You've been different?" "So have you," she said flatly. I blinked. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means," she finally looked at me, "that maybe you should focus on your training instead of trying to impress the new girl." My heart thudded. Wow, so that's what this is about. "It's not about anything," she said sharply. "I'm your coach. And if you're not taking this seriously, then don't do that." I cut her off. "Don't pretend this is just about tennis. Not after everything you've said. Not after everything we what?" She snapped, almost, maybe imagined. I swallowed hard. "I didn't. Imagine the way you touched me, or the way you look at me when you think I'm not paying attention." Silence, thick and charged. She stepped back. "You should go." "Fine," I said, my voice breaking a little. "I'll go, but don't pretend you're doing this. For me, you're scared and you're pushing me away because you feel it too." I turned before she could answer, walked off the court, my skin burning. That night, Sienna invited me out with a few others. I said yes, not because I wanted to, but because I needed a distraction. We went to a smoothie bar off campus, sat under string lights, and laughed about nothing. Sienna flirted subtly, then not so subtly. Her knee brushed mine. Her hand lingered on my arm, and I let her. Because for 1 second, I wanted to know what it felt like to be wanted without complication. But even as she leaned in, even as her fingers traced circles on my wrist, all I could think about was Cass. Her voice, her hands, her distance, and the way she looked at me like I was something dangerous she wasn't ready to touch. When I got back to the dorm, I found a note slipped under my door, folded neatly. No name, just meet me. Court 3 now. My heart raced. I didn't need to guess who it was from. I grabbed my jacket and ran. The night air was colder than I expected. Sharp, biting, filled with silence. Court 3 stood under the glow of the floodlights, empty, waiting. I saw her silhouette before anything else. Cass leaning against the net post, arms crossed, visor, gun, hair loose around her face. She looked different, not like my coach, not like anyone I'd ever known. Just like her, just Cass. I stepped onto the court slowly, every footstep loud in my ears. She didn't move, just watched me approach with a look I couldn't read. Half fury, half something else, something I didn't dare name. "You came," she said, her voice low and unreadable. "You left a note," I replied. She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. "I didn't think you actually would after earlier." After? You pushed me away," she winced. "I had to." "No, you didn't," I said, stepping closer. "You wanted to, Lara?" "No," I cut in, stopping just a few feet from her. "You don't get to play this hot and cold game with me. Dot 1 second you're touching me like I matter, like you see me, and the next you're pretending none of it happened. I can't take that." Her jaw clenched. "You don't understand." "Then explain it," I snapped. "Because if you're trying to convince me that there's nothing between us, you're doing a really bad job." Her eyes burned into mine. "You think this is easy for me?" she asked, stepping forward, her voice rising with every word. "You think I don't lie awake every damn night replaying your voice in my head? You think I don't see your face every time I close my eyes? You're my student, Alara. You're 19. I'm supposed to be the adult here?" "Then stop acting like I'm the only one feeling this," I whispered, "because I'm not." She stared at me long and hard, and then something in her broke. She moved fast. Before I could think, her hand was at the back of my neck, pulling me in, and her mouth crashed against mine. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't patient. It was heat and fury. And all the words we hadn't said pressed into a single desperate kiss. I gasped into her mouth, hands flying to her waist, gripping tight like I was afraid she'd disappear. She kissed me like she was drowning, like she hated herself for wanting me, but couldn't stop. And I didn't want her to stop. I wanted more. Her body pressed into mine, pinning me back against the chain-link fence behind Court 3. Her thighs sliding between mine, her hands in my hair, on my skin, everywhere. I felt her tremble, felt her heart racing against my chest. We pulled back, only when breath became impossible. She looked at me, then really looked, and her face crumpled with emotion. "This is wrong," she whispered, eyes wide, voice cracking. "I know it is, but I can't stop." "Then don't," I said, my forehead pressed to hers. "Please be, don't." She closed. Her eyes, her lips brushed mine again, softer this time, slower, like an apology. Then she stepped back just a little. "This can't happen again," she said, though she sounded like she was trying to convince herself. "You kissed me," I said. "You brought me here. I know." Her voice was hollow. "I made a mistake." That word mistake landed like a slap. I blinked, throat tightening. "So that's all I am to you?" "No," she said immediately, too quickly. "God, no. You're everything I shouldn't want." "But I do. I want you so much, it's terrifying." The silence that followed was too loud. I couldn't speak. I didn't trust my voice. She took a shaky breath. "You should go." "If I leave now," I said, "we can't go back." She nodded. "I know." I waited, hoped she'd stop me. She didn't. So I walked off the court, off that moment, my chest aching, my lips still burning. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept replaying her hands, her breath, her kiss, and the look in her eyes when she let me go. And I knew, no matter how much she tried to deny it, we had already crossed the line, and neither of us knew how to come back from it. She didn't show up the next morning or the one after. No message, no explanation, just gone. Another coach, Jason, with a shaved head and no soul behind his eyes, took over our drills with all the charisma of a dead tennis ball. Everyone whispered about it. She must be sick. Maybe she quit. Did something happen? I stayed quiet because I knew she was hiding from me, from what we did, from what it meant, and I hated her for it, and I missed her like hell. The taste of her kiss still lingered on my mouth. Cruel and addictive, like something unfinished that burned going down. Sienna noticed. Of course she did. "You've been different," she said. One night after drills, we were sitting in the bleachers drinking neon sports drinks and pretending to be casual, moody, distracted. "Is it because of her?" "No," I said too quickly. "It's nothing." She raised an eyebrow. "You know, if she hurt you—" "That's on her, not you." I looked at Sienna. "Really?" "Looked." She was beautiful, confident, and right there. And yet not enough, not even close. "Can we not talk about her?" I asked, my voice lower. "Can we just exist for 5 minutes without dragging my mess into it?" Sienna smiled softly. "Sure, but if you ever want to not be alone, you know where I am." I nodded, said nothing. That night, I didn't go back to my dorm right away. I sat on court 3 in the dark, legs crossed, racket beside me, staring at the net like it might tell me what to do. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just existed, hollow and tense, like a racket strung too tight. It wasn't until the 4th day that she reappeared, afternoon drills. I was mid-set, sweat dripping down my back, heart pounding when I saw her at the far end of the court. Cast in black, her hair tied up tight, sunglasses hiding her expression. She spoke to Jason, not to me, not even a glance in my direction. My chest clenched, and then she turned and walked into the training facility like I wasn't even there. That night, Sienna kissed me. We were alone, sitting on the grass behind the dorms. Her voice low, her hand grazing mine. And I didn't stop. I let her lips find mine, let her fingers cut my jaw, let her kiss me soft and careful and clean. But all I felt was wrong. It wasn't B. It wasn't fire or desperation or something breaking open inside me. It was polite, sweet, empty. "When?" Sienna pulled back. She smiled. "You're shaking," she whispered. "Just cold," I lied. She leaned her head on my shoulder, and I let her. But my eyes stared out into the dark, and I thought about another kiss. One that tasted like recklessness and guilt. One I couldn't forget. The next day, B cornered me after training. "Elara," she said, her voice tight. "We need to talk now." "You want to talk?" I hissed after days of pretending I don't exist. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her skin was pale, her jaw clenched, her eyes bloodshot behind the lenses. "Not here. Come with me." I followed her into the empty physio room, cold tile, harsh lighting. She closed the door behind us, then turned. "I messed up." I laughed. "You think?" "I panicked," she said. I crossed the line, and then I ran because I didn't trust myself not to cross it again. "Too late," I said. "We already did. You kissed me, Cass. Don't you get it?" "You can't pretend that didn't happen." "I'm not pretending." Her voice cracked. I remember every second. "Then why are you acting like I'm nothing to you?" Her expression shattered. "Because if I let myself feel what I'm feeling, I'll ruin you. I'll ruin your focus, your future, your chance. And I couldn't live with myself if I became another reason you didn't make it." I stepped closer, heart pounding. "So you get to choose what I feel. You get to push me away to protect me from something I didn't ask to be protected from." "Yes," she whispered. "Because I'm the adult, and you deserve more than someone who's scared of their own feelings." I stared at her, eyes burning. "I don't want more. I want you." She looked away, her throat working. "Sienna kissed me," I said, needing to hurt her, needing. A reaction. Her jaw tightened, and I didn't feel anything. "Not like with you." Her eyes flicked back to mine, full of something raw and dangerous. "You don't know what you're doing," she said, stepping toward me. "Yes, I do." "No, you don't." "Then show me," I said, voice trembling. "Show me how wrong I am." She stared at me for a long time, then turned and left just like that. No words, no explanations, just silence again. And this time, I didn't go after her. I let her walk away because if I chased her now, I'd never stop. The tournament began on a Monday, and everything about the campus shifted. Banners flapped in the breeze. Sponsors arrived with their clipboards and fake smiles, and the courts were suddenly holy ground, untouchable, buzzing with tension. I was seated third in my bracket, a solid position, expected to go far. I didn't care. Not really. I cared that Cass still wasn't speaking to me. She'd shown up in the stands during my first match. Sat in the back row, sunglasses on, arms crossed. She didn't cheer. She didn't smile, but she didn't look away once. I won in straight sets. Sienna hugged me. Afterward. Too long, too tight. You crushed her, she whispered. You're going all the way. I can feel it. I nodded numb. The only person I wanted to hear that from was silent. After the second match, same thing. Victory, applause, emptiness. Cass watched. From a distance, left before I could find her. On the third day, I found her in the training room, alone, filling out paperwork. You're avoiding me, I said. You're winning. That's all that matters. She looked up then. Her eyes were tired. What do you want me to say? That it meant something? I snapped. That it wasn't just a mistake to you? You think I'd be this miserable? If it hadn't meant something? Her voice cracked. I haven't slept. I haven't eaten, right? Every time I see you on that court, I want to tear the whole damn fence down just to get to you. My breath caught. Then why are you acting like I don't exist? Because I'm scared, she whispered. Because I want you so badly, it makes me sick. And because I know that the moment I let myself have you, I won't ever be able to let go. Silence. Stretched thick, pulsing, I stepped closer. Then don't let go. She laughed bitter. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. I'm not a child. Cass, I'm not fragile. I'm not asking you to protect me. I'm asking you to choose me. Her face crumpled. You don't know what you're asking, then tell me. I challenged. Tell me why we can't be together and I'll walk away right now. She opened her mouth, closed it. That's what I thought. My voice was shaking. You can't say it because it's not about what's right or wrong anymore. It's about fear and you're letting it win. I can't be the reason your career gets compromised. You're not, I said, stepping closer. So close I could feel her breath, but you're damn close to being the reason I fall apart. Her eyes burned into mine. Do you want to win this tournament or not? What do you think I'm playing for? I snapped. Medals, recognition. No, I'm playing for you. Every time I hit that ball, it's for you. To prove to you that I'm strong enough to love you and still be the best. She exhaled like I knocked the wind out of her. You don't get it. No, I said you don't. I turned, walked away before I could break, but not before I heard her voice soft and shattering behind me. Alara, I didn't stop. Couldn't because if I did, I'd turn back. And this time, I wasn't sure I could survive another almost. That night, I was scheduled for the semifinals. The crowd was louder, the pressure higher. I stood at the baseline, racket in hand, sweat running down my back. And then I saw her cast courtside, not in the stands, on the edge of the coaching box. No sunglasses, no hiding. Our eyes met and something shifted. I played like fire, like lightning. Every shot was brutal, precise, unstoppable. I destroyed my opponent in record time. And when the crowd roared, I didn't look at them. I looked at her, Cass standing, clapping. Her eyes locked on mine. And for the first time since everything began, she smiled. Small, fragile, real. I knew then we weren't over, not even close. I couldn't sleep after the semifinals. My body was still humming from the adrenaline, but it wasn't the win that kept me awake. It was her Cass, the way she looked at me after. The match, the way her eyes followed me, soft and full of pride. The way she smiled like she finally allowed herself to feel what had always been there. Around midnight, I left the dorm. Couldn't stay in that bed another second. My legs moved on instinct, and somehow I ended up at the gym annex where the lights were always on after dark. I didn't expect to see her, but there she was, sitting. Alone on the bench in the empty weight room, her elbows on her knees, head tilted back, eyes closed. She didn't flinch when I walked in, didn't even open her eyes. I thought you might come, she said softly. I sat beside her, closed but not. Touching, the silence wrapped around us, warm and fragile. I saw you today, she murmured. You were unstoppable. I was thinking of you the whole time. Her throat moved. She finally looked at me. You scare me. I met her gaze. Why? Because with you, she said, voice trembling, I don't feel like a coach. I don't feel in control. I feel like a person, a woman, wanting something she shouldn't want. Then stop trying not to want it, I whispered, just for tonight. She didn't respond, just looked at me, and that was enough. That was everything. I leaned in first, slowly, carefully, giving her every second to pull away. She didn't. Her lips met mine like a secret finally spoken. The kiss was different this time. No anger, no fear, just hunger, honest and full and deep. Her hands found my waist, mine tangled in her hair, and the weight of all those stolen glances and unsaid words pressed between us. She pulled me into her lap, and I straddled her without hesitation, breathless as her mouth moved against mine. Like she was starving. My fingers slipped under her hoodie, feeling the heat of her skin, the muscles that still remembered what it meant to be great. She groaned softly when I touched her back, her body pressing against mine like she needed. Me closer, impossibly closer. Her lips traced a path down my jaw, my throat stopping at the edge of my collarbone. Tell me to stop, she whispered, voice. If I keep going, I won't be able to pretend anymore. I don't want you to pretend, I said, burying my hands in her hair. I want all of it. I want you. That was the moment everything broke open. She lifted me gently, walking us toward the mat room behind the glass doors where the lights were low and the silence felt safe. We collapsed into each other, limbs tangled, breath mingled, mouths frantic and reverent at the same time. Every touch was a confession, every gasp of promise. She undressed me slowly, reverently, like she was discovering something sacred. And when her lips found my skin, my neck, my shoulder, the curve of my stomach, I arched beneath her, overcome by the intensity, the reality, the rightness of it all. I touched her too, learned her body like I'd been waiting my whole life to. She trembled under my hands, whispered my name like it was something precious. We moved together in quiet rhythm, in sync like we were finally fluent in a language only our bodies understood. When it was over, I lay on top of her, head on her chest, listening to her heartbeat slow. Her fingers traced lazy circles on my back. I don't want to lose this, I murmured. You won't, she said, not if I can help it. You're still scared, terrified, she admitted. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. I closed my eyes, tears stinging. I love you, I whispered. The words felt inevitable, obvious, true. She didn't answer right away, just held me tighter. Then she kissed my forehead and said, I've loved you since the first time you hit that forehand, and didn't even realize how good it was. I smiled into her skin. For the first time in weeks, I felt whole. We stayed like that until the sun started to rise, our clothes scattered, our bodies tangled, our fears quiet, just for a moment. Tomorrow, everything could fall apart. But tonight, she was mine, and that was enough. By the time the final match arrived, the campus was electric. Students buzzing, cameras stationed, tournament officials pacing like caged dogs. I stood in the locker room, gripping my racket like it could anchor me. My reflection stared back at me, fierce, nervous, determined. But beneath the surface, my heart was chaos. We hadn't talked about it, about what we were, about what would happen after that night. Cass kissed me again in the morning, soft and slow, like a promise she didn't know how to keep. Then she left before breakfast. No words, no eye contact. All day, it was like the magic of the night had retreated back into the shadows. And now I was here about to play the most important match of my life. And all I could think about was her. Focus, I whispered to myself. Play your game for you, for her. When I stepped onto the court, the crowd exploded. I spotted Sienna in the stands, arms crossed, jaw tight. I hadn't spoken to her since the kiss we shared. The kiss I never should have let happen. She knew. She didn't say anything, but she knew. And that knowledge burned between us every time our eyes met. But I wasn't playing for Sienna. I scanned the edge of the court. No, Cass. My stomach dropped. The referee called us to center. My opponent, tall, vicious, ranked second, smirked like she'd already won. We shook hands. The match began. First set, chaos. My serve faltered. My footwork was tight, Every mistake echoed like a gunshot. I lost it 3-6. In the break, I sat with a towel over my head, heart racing, wondering if I was about to implode in front of everyone. Then I heard her voice breathe. I looked up. Cass stood just outside the fence behind the coaching line, visor pulled low. Her eyes met mine, steady, fierce, present. You're playing like someone who's afraid of being watched. She said, you think they know? You think they're judging you? So what? Let them. Make them watch. Show them what it looks like when a woman plays with her whole heart. My chest tightened. My fingers gripped the towel. I nodded once. That was all I needed. Second set, fire. Every swing felt cleaner, every shot sharper. I stopped playing defense. I started dictating, hitting lines, risking it all. The crowd roared when I took it. 6-2, final set. My body screamed, but my blood sang. Cass didn't speak again, but I felt her like a pulse at the edge of the court. My opponent pushed hard, and I pushed harder. We traded games like punches, each one more brutal than the last. 5-4, my serve match point. I bounced the ball, looked up and saw her, not just watching, not just coaching. Cass's hand was on her chest, eyes locked on mine. And in that moment, I felt everything. Every glance, every whisper, every touch that led us here. I tossed the ball, swung ace. The stadium exploded. I dropped my racket, fell to my knees, and gasped for air that felt like lightning. Cameras swarmed. Coaches poured in, but all I saw was her. I ran to the edge of the court, stopped inches from her. We didn't speak, couldn't. I saw the tears in her eyes. I knew mine mirrored hers. I won, I whispered. She nodded. I know you were there always. The crowd moved around us, loud and oblivious. But in that bubble, it was just us. Just Alara and Cass. Just everything we weren't allowed to be. Finally, undeniable. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw it. A camera lens pointed straight at us. Click, flash. Cass saw it too, and I saw the fear flood her face. She stepped back instinctively, like the panic had yanked her body from mine. Cass, I said, voice low. Don't do this. We have to be careful, she whispered, already retreating. They'll talk. They'll let them, I said louder. No, let them talk. I'm not hiding anymore. It's not just about you, she snapped. I could lose everything. Then what was last night? I asked. What was this? A mistake? She said again, that word, that damn word. It cut deeper this time in front of the cameras. In front of everyone. She turned, walked away. I stood frozen. Trophy heavy in my hand. Victory hollow in my chest because I'd won the tournament, but it felt like I'd lost her. The photo went viral in less than 12 hours. A blurry shot, but unmistakable. Cass and me standing too close, eyes locked. The air between us charged and obvious. The caption didn't help. Finalist Alara Vale shares intense moment with temporary coach after tournament win. Just a mentor or something more. Comments flooded. In speculation, gossip. Whispers turned into noise, and by morning the academy was buzzing with it. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Journalists, players, friends, and Sienna. She texted me one line, so it's true. I didn't reply. What could I say? That I kissed someone who was supposed to be off limits? That I loved a woman who might never love me in the daylight? That I won a tournament but felt like I was drowning? Cass didn't show up for the awards brunch. Rumors said she requested to be reassigned, possibly leave Beaumont altogether. I couldn't breathe, not until I saw her. Not until she looked me in the eyes and told me it was over herself. So I found her in the locker room, her duffel packed. Her hair wet from the shower, her expression unreadable when I walked in. You weren't going to say goodbye? I asked. I was trying to make it easier, she said quietly. For who? I demanded. For me or for you, she looked down. I'm sorry. You don't get to disappear again, I said, stepping closer. Not after everything. Not after I gave you every part of me. I know, she said, her voice breaking. I know I hurt you. Then stay, I whispered. Face it with me. Whatever comes, stay. Her hands clenched at her sides. You don't understand. They're investigating. The board wants to speak to me. There could be consequences, real ones. I don't care. I do, she snapped. I care about you, about your reputation, your future. Then fight for me, I said, voice shaking. For us. Don't pretend this doesn't matter. Just because you're scared. I'm not pretending, she whispered. I've never felt anything like this before, not for anyone. That's what terrifies me. I took her hand slowly, carefully, she let me. Then let's be scared together. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to do this, she confessed. I do, I said. We start by not running. She looked at me for a long, fragile second. Then she dropped the bag, took my face in her hands, and kissed me right there. No hiding, no fear, just truth. Real and raw and full of everything we'd held back. When we pulled apart, she smiled through her tears. Okay, she said, let's do this. We faced the fallout together. Meetings, questions, judgment. Some parents complained, some coaches whispered, but others, they supported us. Quietly at first. Then louder, I gave a statement. Yes, I'm in love with Cassandra Reed. Yes, I'm proud of it. No, it didn't affect the integrity of my performance. Cass didn't speak publicly. She didn't need to. She stood beside me at every press appearance, every closed-door meeting, every moment when the world tried to make me doubt us. Eventually, the noise died down. The academy ruled no violation had occurred. She was never my official coach during the tournament. Her reassignment was revoked. She stayed, and so did I. In the months that followed, we built something real, slow, strong, messy, and beautiful. I trained harder. She pushed me, supported me, loved me quietly at first, then proudly. We held hands at a fundraising gala. She kissed my cheek after I won my first pro qualifier. We weren't a secret anymore. We were us. One night, lying beside her after a long day of drills and deadlines, she brushed my hair behind my ear and whispered, I still see it. You know that fire in you. It scares me how bright it burns. I smiled. Good. Then you'll never look away. She kissed me deep and certain, and I knew whatever came next, we were ready. Because what started as a substitute became the greatest love of my life. If you enjoyed this content and want to support the channel in a special way, try clicking the thanks button below. It's the one with the heart and $ icon. With super thanks, you can make a direct contribution to the channel, which helps me keep creating awesome videos for you.